Now we continue our search for the Arizona Diamondbacks and what they're going to do through free agency with our free agency frenzy segment. And of course, without Jesse here, it allows us to go insane. Of course, Jesse Friedman is the voice of reason around here. And I don't even know if he would have permitted us to do a topic on today's, guest star, if you will. But we are focusing on the Diamondbacks potentially acquiring Japanese pitcher Yoshinobu Yamamoto from the Oryx in Japan.
He's good if you didn't know.
If you haven't heard, he is very, very good. In fact, he's one of the hottest free agents in MLB right now. Might even be, nobody's hotter than Shohei Ohtani, but his impact is going to be more immediate considering that Ohtani won't pitch in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to get the $500 million that Ohtani's going to get, but he's going to get a nice little chunk of change.
He sure is.
I mean, you have the type of year that he had. He's got 3 no-hitters in his career. He's only 25 years old.
25 years old.
And he's just an absolute stud.
Yep. Well, let's take a look at what his stats were last season in Japan because they are impressive.
Is that good?
It's very good. That is #good, Jacob. 171 innings pitched, 17-6 record, a 1.16 ERA. Ski yee. A whip of 0.86, and then a strikeout to walk ratio of 176 strikeouts to 28 walks.
His delivery is a little funky.
It is,
but
a little funky.
But I dig it. The control, like what you just mentioned, the strikeout to walk ratio is pretty insane.
Yeah.
The control that he has, this is your top end starter. I wouldn't even bat an eye to say that if you bring in Yoshinobu Yamamoto, you're probably thinking that he's your number one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough to say on a team with Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen, but if you get a guy of this stature to join that pitching staff, you are immediately the best pitching staff in baseball. 3 guys that could be number ones, and any other team, you are the best pitching staff in baseball.
Brandon Pfaadt as your 4?
Oh, that's crazy. That
would feel good.
That would feel good. I know a lot of options that we're talking about aren't nearly as expensive as Yamamoto might cost, and now there are a lot of teams that are in the mix. We had this tweet from August that gave us some hope. Do we have this tweet, Damon? This tweet from August basically said, this is from Michael Marino at MLB. He said, sources, the Mets and Diamondbacks are 2 teams expected to have strong interest in Japanese starting pitcher Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Should he be posted after the season, which we know now he is. Many more expected to be in with a contract exceeding $200 million. A strong possibility.
That's quite a bit of cheddar.
It's quite a bit of cheddar, and obviously,
that's not you also have to think about the posting fee as well.
Yeah,
because you're not only paying the contract, you're paying the posting fee.
Yep. And the Diamondbacks have consistently ranked in the bottom third of MLB as far as luxury tax and payroll and things like that.
But
right?
you and I talked about this earlier. It almost feels like this could be one of those sneaky things that they do, kind of like when they signed Greinke.
Yeah,
right. Like
the
Greinke sweepstakes. It was Giants or Dodgers, wasn't it? Was it Giants, Dodgers, Giants.
Yeah.
And then
basically.
all of a sudden it was like, oh, by the way, the Diamondbacks signed Zach Greinke.
Yeah.
And it was like, where did we get $212 million?
And I mean, to be fair, Zach Greinke, even though for some reason his time here is remembered like he wasn't very good when he was here. But Greinke was no Bumgarner. Zach Greinke put up some impressive numbers here in Arizona. It was just, I guess you could say, the rest of the team around him, and they still weren't too shabby at all.
He was a number one.
It's just
while he was here. He had one bad year, and the rest of his time here, I'm pretty sure he averaged like a 3.30 year.
Right.
That's number one numbers.
But it's like somehow he gets combined in with Mad Bum, like as if they were just both like colossal failures in signings.
That's not true.
It wasn't even close.
It's not true.
Wasn't even close to the disaster that Mad Bum was.
Don't think the Greinke trade turned into Paul Sewald. So.
He's not wrong.
Do you guys remember when every spring training we were like, oh, Zach Greinke's throwing 87 miles per hour?
Yeah, because he doesn't care.
It's a wrap for his career. There's no way.
It's over. And then he'd come out there and have like a 3.2 ERA, and you'd be like, let's
he's like pumping 94 again, and you're like, Oh.
So like a 40-mile-per-hour eephus.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you. Yamamoto does throw a pretty good fastball, mid-90s, 93, 96. He also has a splitter, a curveball, a cutter, and a slider.
He's your traditional, he's your traditional Japanese pitcher.
Yeah.
They oftentimes feature
tools.
just a huge arsenal.
Yeah.
I mean, Yu Darvish is the same way. He's got like 9 pitches. So the nice thing is you just never know what you're going to get. Like that's the biggest thing that they have going for them. Is that they can throw the kitchen sink at you. It's the same thing I love about Merrill Kelly. He can throw the kitchen sink at you. It's so hard to game plan a pitcher that can use any pitch in any count. And that to me is what Yoshinobu Yamamoto is.
Yeah.
Like he can use any pitch, any count.
Yeah. And I mean, he was incredible for the Oryx, and he's going to potentially be incredible for any team that has interest in him. It would be great if it's us, right? But the Mets do have interest in him, and there is a little bit of a problem there because apparently Kodai Senga, and he knows him personally.
And I'm pretty sure who shares. There are a couple people that share an agent with him. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I'm sure there is, and then you also have the Yankees being interested. You have the Dodgers. You have all the biggest teams in baseball. You have, the Boston Red Sox are interested. You have everybody interested in them. So
yeah, Connor points it out. But the economic windfall and not insignificant investments into the team.
That's the thing. That's
I'm willing to drop $250 on a guy like this.
I think if of any of the areas you address, you're going to spend money on, it needs to be the starting pitcher. We've already talked about the options at third base, and I think we might have covered all of the options at third base already, and we haven't even been doing this very long. So it just goes to show there aren't that many out there, and the one that's going to cost the most in Matt Chapman probably isn't worth the money that it's going to take to get Matt Chapman. But meanwhile,
but sometimes you just have to.
I know that, but I'm just saying, like, starting pitching, I feel like is where you need to spend the money, especially with what we saw this team do.
You need a 3.
I mean,
Fott's a good 3, but like you know what I mean. Like
if you can move everybody down one, then that's also good.
Like it killed them to do that bullpen game in the World Series.
Yeah,
it just absolutely killed them.
It killed us. And I mean, it killed baseball. People were furious, like as if Torey Lovullo had some sort of other option, and he just opted to fuck with them by going with a bullpen game. Like, have you not been paying attention to this team? We literally didn't even have 4 starting pitchers. And in hindsight, Ryan Nelson looked great in that game when he came in. But who knows if he would have pitched like that had he started that game, right?
Let's think about the track record of where this team has found success in their signings. And oftentimes, it is not the flashy sign.
It's true.
I mean, talk about Merrill Kelly. That was like everybody's like, oh, Merrill Kelly's probably a 4 or 5, and now you look at Merrill Kelly and you're like, oh my god, I could not imagine not having Merrill Kelly on this team. Like, he's probably a 1 on a lot of teams, which is pretty crazy to say considering most ones they at least are touching 96 or 97. And he just does it. I don't know how he does it. He gets soft contact. He locates like a mother. So it's just like Merrill Kelly was such an underrated signing, and this team has found a lot of success in signings like that. So if you're looking for somebody from the Japanese Baseball League, and that's kind of a hint is where I'm going here. There is another under the radar name that is getting posted more than likely, and that's Shota Imanaga, I think. It doesn't have a phonetic pronunciation on here, but
Shota Imanaga.
Yes, he plays at Yokohama, and in his career, he's in over 1,000 innings pitched, got a 2.96. He's only 30 years old. He's a left-handed pitcher, so that's this team has a plethora of right-handed pitching.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have a lefty. Tommy Henry's good. They just added Blake Walston to the 40-man roster so that they could avoid him being drafted in the Rule 5. It's interesting because I feel like so many teams are going to get caught up in the Yoshi sweepstakes that, like, I think Shota might get lost. Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, and you might be able to swoop in and get a really, really solid 3 for not as much money.
I think the difference there is because Yamamoto has become such a big, like, name now as far as amongst baseball teams, like, his price is going up. The number of years you're going to have to pay him is going up. And you just don't know what you're going to get out of either of these guys in Major League Baseball. But if you have any concerns, looking at their career numbers is a pretty goddamn good place to start. And when you look at Yoshinobu's career numbers, Jacob, he has a 1.72 ERA in his career in 5 years of pitching in professional baseball.
It says a lot that he was the one that started the World Baseball Classic championship game.
Right. Yeah. You're absolutely
on a team that featured Roki Sasaki, Shohei, and and he's who they chose to start.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So I just don't know how feasible it is. And honestly, I think that if you're asking me, and you see these other teams that are connected to him, the Diamondbacks, even though they were one of two teams that were originally interested in him, aren't even in the top 10 connected to him now. So who knows how this is going to play out. But like you said, the Greinke deal, we didn't see that coming either. The Diamondbacks kind of swooped in out of nowhere. So maybe they can do that. I think.
And it wasn't like it was even announced. Like the only announcement before that Greinke signing was there's a special third team that has jumped in at the last second.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh.
Well, there's no way it's the Diamondbacks, right?
Yeah.
Surprise! It was. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a benefit there as well, because if the Giants, if the Dodgers, if these other teams are interested in him, there's a competitive advantage to also stealing him away from those guys. It doesn't seem very likely, even with the economic windfall and all of this stuff, based on the fact that this team still doesn't really like committing large sums of money like this to an unproven talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like that's the bigger problem is, but again, that ERA for his career, I don't call that unproven in a league that is as competitive as Major League Baseball.
Yeah, and you were talking about strikeouts versus walks for Yoshi.
Yeah,
but it's the same. I mean, it's the same way with Shota. I think he had 188 strikeouts to 24 walks.
Well, and that could
so
be,
his was even the margin was even wider there.
And see, that could be such a Mike Hazen thing to do, to not go after the big gigantic name, and then
he might pump
up.
Yeah, he might pump that he's going after Yoshi, but he's like, well, I'm pumping this because I want everybody to focus on that. Like, this team is the splashy signing isn't always it.
Yeah,
like, as much as I would like, if they get Yoshi, don't get me wrong, I'm going to celebrate with the best of them because that would be insane. But I would not be unhappy if they were to go after Shota.